Have you ever wanted to make a Necromancer Warlock that wouldn't necessarily have to go through multi-classing for you to be able to make it effective? Because multi-classing doesn't allow you to get access to the most powerful Necromancer summonings and zombie farms and undead farms. Well, thanks to that mod manager, we actually do get the chance to have a basic native mono class Warlock. Now, I do want to talk to you about this class a little bit because this is very powerful. You can definitely tell that the person that made this mod actually tried to balance it. There's a lot of balancing and well care placed into this mod, but it's not balanced at all. This is utterly broken. I'm not saying that it's cheating. It's not going to feel like you are breaking the game using cheats, but it's definitely going to trivialize the game, mainly because of one purpose. Let me show you first how to get it. You go to the mod manager. This is not available on console, at least I checked in the morning. There's still quite a lot of mods that are missing in consoles. I'm guessing that they should be making its way sooner rather than later. You go in here to subclasses and then you're going to be looking for the Dread Overlord. This is what it's going to make your Warlock a Necromancer. Now, that being said, why is this guy so broken and overpowered? Let's talk about that. Remember, timestamps in the video description. I'm actually going to take quite a while to tell you why is this so powerful. The main reason being is that the Warlocks on itself are very powerful by themselves. They can break the game beyond levels, and even there's some D&D tables, there's a couple of DMs that would nerf Warlocks that wouldn't allow you to use the Darkness spell, or they would put it up to votation if they see that a player wants to use it. Just the fact that they have to put to a votation a kind of single spell, it lets you know that it's very broken. It's very powerful. Why is it so powerful? Essentially what Darkness does is that it causes blindness upon the enemies that you have in front of you, and it's very difficult for them to deal damage to you, especially since you are using the very powerful, already powerful, the Eldritch Blast that you can upcast with, well, not upcast, but you can increase the attack roll and damage roll with Charisma. Now, a lot of people get confused about the spell Darkness in Baldur's Gate because they say it's not really that powerful. 50% of the enemies that you fight in the game have Dark Vision. Dark Vision is not enough. Yes, 50% of the enemies on the game have Dark Vision, but Dark Vision is not enough to see through Magical Darkness. To see through Magical Darkness, you need Devil's Sights, meaning that only demons, not even undead, only demons would be allowed to see through your Magical Darkness, meaning that 70 to 80% of the things that you are going to fight on the game, they are going to be trivialized. Now, it has been nerfed a little bit because of that reason. Usually, you wouldn't be able to shoot any arrows through the darkness because it would get lost in the darkness, so meaning that you cannot shoot anything from outside. The same goes for spells. It seems that I do not know if it's a bug, it's not working for me, but still, since you have your Eldritch Blasts, you can just Eldritch Blast the hell out of rangers from outside, and then melee combatants, AI, has to like throw things instead of the darkness, which is not that it's not that much of a big of a deal. It's very powerful because of that reason. Let's go through the character and how do we build it. You will see that we have a whole bunch of subclass features and a whole bunch of cantrips. Those subclass features and the cantrips also have new terminology that add new effects to you, like the minion points, the Night of the Living Dead. I'm not going to explain every single thing to you right here because it's going to take quite a bit of time and it's still going to be a little confusing. So what I'm going to do, because this is a very overwhelming subclass, what I'm going to do is that on the gameplay section I'm going to explain to you the spells that we'll be using and what is it that they do. Now, have in mind that your ability points, they are going to be act dependent. You're going to be respecting depending on the act that you are on. There's very good reason for that. So this right here, this is for Act 1. The only thing that's always going to be true is that your charisma is always going to be 16. You get attack rolls and damage rolls from charisma if you're using a specific thing that we'll be taking for Eldritch Blasts a little later on. The second thing that you're going to focus right now on the second act of the game is going to be having Constitution and Dexterity. And I'd say that it's even better to have them like this. Dexterity is going to give you initiative, and it's also going to give you armor class, very much needed when you are just starting out the game. And you're going to need a bit of concentration to be able to sustain the darkness, although it's very difficult for the enemy to hit you on the first place once you're standing on the darkness. So this is ideally how your points are going to be looking like on the first act of the game. On the second act of the game, you're going to lower your dexterity, because on the second act of the game you get access to the gloves of dexterity, which you're going to be using. At this point, you're going to raise your constitution to increase the sustainability of your darkness, and then you can get access to a little bit more of saving throws when it comes to intelligence and wisdom. That's for Act 2. On Act 3, you're going to raise your dexterity all the way to 17. That's very important. You're going to downgrade your constitution all the way to 0, because you're going to be using the Amulet of Constitution. It is very important to know that our dexterity on Act 3 should be right here, because we're going to raise that extra point with a character feat that we'll be taking later on. Important things to know. At level 2, you get access to the Eldritch Invocations. There's 2 that you're going to take right here. Devil Sights. This is what's going to allow you not to get blinded by your own darkness. So you initially plant yourself inside of your darkness, and then you use your Agonizing Blast to increase the damage that your cantrip does based on your charisma that you have. This is when the build is mostly established. You're still going to need the darkness, so you're going to get it on a later level. At level 3, you get access to darkness. At this point, you're already broken. Like, you're already quite literally broken. It's very difficult for the enemy to kill you at this point. The Pact Boon. This is also going to alter our subclass. There's many things that we're going to be able to do right here. The Pact of the Blade is going to get extra benefits from the subclass, the Dreadlord, the Dread Overlord that we have right here, although we're not going to be taking this one because we're not going to be meleeing. Our main means of damage when we deal damage is always going to be from our Eldritch Blasts. That leads us to our Pact of Chain and also the Pact of the Tome. The Pact of the Tome is going to give you a brand new spell that is going to allow you to select 5 undeads that can attack 1 extra time because of that command that you gave them. That's very, very powerful. However, I like to go with the Pact of the Chain because this is going to allow you to summon a Necromancer familiar that is also going to be able to summon his own familiars, so that's more and more and more undead. So regardless of that, either of Pact of the Chain or Pact of the Tome are just fine on level 3. When you're either level 4 or level 8, you get access to a character feat. My advice is that you take this at level 4 because that's what's going to raise your dexterity to 18 if you're using your dexterity on the first act of the game. That's going to allow you to have more armor class with the medium armors that we'll be using. The second one that you're going to take at level 8, it's going to be Warcaster. And then at level 12, you're going to choose 2 more points into your ability improvement for the character feats to increase your charisma to 18. This is going to be 20 with a helmet that we'll be using on the itemization of the character. You will notice that I did skip all of the levels because I don't want to take ages trying to explain every single little thing as you level up. It would take too much time. That's not my goal. So why did I did it like that? Because you don't have to do anything. Everything that you needed to do, I have already showed you. You're going to need your Eldritch Blasts, you're going to need your Darkness, and then you're going to be able you're going to need your Dark Vision, which we have already chosen. Beyond that, you don't really need to do anything. The spells that you'll be using for the subclasses, the spells that I'm going to explain to you in the gameplay section of this video, they have already been chosen automatically for you as you level up, because those are spells and cantrips that you are going to get as you level up from the Dread Overlord. The rest of the spells, the rest of the cantrips that you can choose, because you can choose them as you level up with the rest of the things that we have right here, they are irrelevant. You're not going to use them. So everything that you need to know, it's just right here. It's just finished. So the itemization. Remember that I have an item that's specific to every chapter that you are on. So if you're, for example, seeing on the itemization that I have gloves on the Act 2 of the game, you're going to use them on the Act 2 of the game, and then you're going to change them for the ones that you'd see on the Act 3 portion of the game. But your endgame should be looking something like this. The Armor of Agility. This is exotic material, meaning that if you have that +4 into dexterity, you can add the complete armor class to this thing, meaning that's going to be 21 armor class. And then you get the more armor class from your shield. The shield is always going to be the one that gives you the more armor class. So there's like epic shields that you can see right here. For example, we have the Shield of Devotion. However, it doesn't have as much armor class as a regular basic +1 shield. We're not building towards the Shield of Devotion 8 or the Shield Bash. We just need that extra armor class, so we don't really care about this Shield of Devotion right here. We also don't care about the spell slots because we're using the spell slots of the Warlock. So always use the shield that gives you the most armor class. Then we have the Amulet of Greater Health right here. The Spell Might Globes, which in Act 2 of the game you're going to be using the Globes of Dexterity. The Hell Dust Boots, just to be able to sustain concentration, no one can knock us down, meaning that no one can get rid of our darkness. And then we have the Birthright, which is going to increase our charisma all the way to 20. I have 21, that's just a byproduct of a secondary quest that I did for this character. You cast a darkness. Everything that tries to get inside every spell, you cannot be affected by spells. The only way that the enemy can deal damage while you are in your darkness is going to be by throwing projectiles, arrows, and things like that. And then from inside the darkness, you're always going to be using your Eldritch Blasts, which deals tremendous amounts of damage. That's the self-sustainability of the main character. That's very powerful, and that's usually what you're going to be using most of the playthrough. However, I was mentioning that at the beginning of the video that this class was very overpowered and very broken, because on top of this already being broken, this is already a established build. You can also get even much more broken with the rest of the things that you get from the Dreadlord. Then we have the Shield of Souls. When you use the Shield of Souls, it's going to give you more spells. Essentially, it's going to unlock more spells. It is very interesting how they work. You have Reapt the Dying. When you use Reapt the Dying, you can use this to execute an enemy that has less than 20% health, and it's going to execute them. So it's not going to matter what kind of thing are you fighting. This is going to increase your armor class +1 until the long rest, and this is going to stack also with the Commit Corpse, which you can use a corpse that has just fallen on the battlefield that is still sustains, like it retains some kind of soul, and then you can use that corpse to increase your armor class as well, and that's going to stack with the previous one, and that's going to last until the long rest. And then also you're going to have the Reapt of the Dead. All of the bodies that you have killed on the battlefield, if you killed 5 bodies and you can re-up them with this on the single AoE, that's going to increase your armor class to +5, so meaning the amount of corpses that you are re-upping, and this is also going to be there until the long rest. What's the catch? Because this actually seems very powerful. Yes, it is very powerful, but if you're using the medium armor like we are using, this is a build that focuses on using medium armor so that you have sustainability before you actually kill things. This is going to give you armor class. It's going to last for that one turn. But if you're not using armor, the armor that you use from Reapt of the Dead, from the Commit Corpses, and from all of those things, that's going to be sustainable until you take a long rest. When you have captured all of those souls, you will see that you have the souls of the dead. So they are binded to your shield, and they give you lots of different benefits. Like, for example, like the enemy projectiles, they bounce back to the enemies. So you see why this is so broken. The only reason why darkness was nerfed was because the only means when they nerfed the darkness, the only means of the enemy to deal damage to you is by throwing you a projectile, because they cannot attack you on melee because of your high armor class and the disadvantage that they have, and because spells cannot go by the darkness. They cannot use spells to go through the darkness. So they have to rely on projectiles. Projectiles that cannot reach you because of this thing right here. And then you can create undead. You can use a corpse to create undead from a mummy. You can summon a skeletal giant. And then remember what I told you about the dark vision from the darkness and being nerfed and not working against things. This guy is very powerful. It has lots of hit points. And he also has Devil's Sight, being an undead. So that's very broken. It shouldn't have been a thing. But what do you know? It is a thing. This guy, you can sustain this guy on the darkness with you, and it's virtually unkillable. The same thing goes for your skeletal warlock. You can use a corpse to summon a skeletal warlock, which is going to have on the devil's side. You can sustain, you can keep your skeletal warlock on the mist, on the darkness, and it can attack from a distance without the necessity of having to leave it, and yeah, it's going to kill more things. So essentially those two guys, you're going to keep them inside of the darkness, and then as you kill things, you're going to be using the animated data to animate zombies, ghouls, and whatnot, and the mummy, and those are the ones that are going to remain outside. Remember that I told you about the Find Familiar, the one that I like to take? You can use a familiar for a devil dog. This guy can summon 2 more doggies, and they are also going to have devil sights. So this is just broken beyond brokenness, beyond brokenness. I can see that they try to make it like balanced to some extent and without making you cheat, but my advice is that if you're going to be using this class, use it on honor mode or things like that, because being able to be unkillable while you are inside of the darkness and at the same time have an army of about 10 undead that you have out there in the world killing things that cannot get inside of you or on the darkness, it's just so broken, dude. This guy can solo through anything, and yeah. But anyways, if you like the content, like and never super appreciate it. And also, that you're a gorgeous, beautiful person. You're in the gorgeous and beautiful, beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel. You're in the Discord. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.